Hi, thank you for watching this video. I wanted to just explain to you guys a little bit, a big picture kind of scenario of how people really look for jobs in the real world. And I'm hoping I can apply this to what we're doing. So this is a slideshow that I put together to help students find internships a long time ago, and I've modified it a little bit for you today. Something that people think is that the way you find jobs is by applying to job openings. So I just wanted to point out to you that this is actually the complete opposite of the way that most people find jobs. So looking at job ads on the internet and applying to jobs works very, very rarely as a way of finding jobs. I hope that doesn't depress you. It shouldn't actually, because there's a better way. Just mailing your resume to people does not find jobs. Applying for ads that are already out there in general, whether it's on the internet or anywhere else, is just not the way that most jobs change hands, including newspaper ads, etc. And even employment agencies, although that does work better. So you can go on Indeed.com and Monster.com and see tons and tons of job listings, but let's just be really honest, that is not how people are finding work in the real world. What does work is actually thinking about companies and going to them directly and talking to them about jobs that they have not even advertised. So developing relationships with companies and reaching out to them directly. So the old-fashioned way of doing this was you went and found an employer and you knocked on the door and you talked to the manager. The more modern ways of doing this involve electronic communication, but it's the same basic idea. You find somebody at the company and you reach out to them and talk to them directly. Looking through lists, the yellow pages is an old idea. Used to be there was a phone book, but looking through lists of companies and picking employers, picking companies that interest you and finding out about them is a winning strategy. Networking with people that you know, and building. This is something, people your age tend to think, well, I don't know anybody in business, but you do know some people, and you build out from that to know more and more people. And you can also intentionally build relationships with people by, not essentially knocking on their door and asking to get to know them for a few minutes. So building your network, and we're going to talk about that. A really successful strategy that a lot of people use is to get together with a group of people and work together in their job hunt. So it's not like you're competing with those folks. It's more like a little club to encourage each other and support each other and share contacts and information. And then the reason why this one's on the list is because doing what you started doing in this project, thinking about what are your real skills and what stands out about you and what is special about you that can be applied to a job, is super important, because that's how you're starting to make a connection with the right job in the first place, and then building into something that you can enjoy and be successful at. So this flower is the what color is your parachute traditional way of thinking about all the things you might be looking for in a job. And you'll notice that we've been doing step 3, which is identifying transferable skills. There are other things that you can do to research different kinds of jobs and different kinds of things that will make you comfortable and happy and where you'll be able to be successful. We're not focusing on that, but I just want to point out that it exists. So then from there, you're starting to think about, well, what company is the right company for me? And you have to remember that there's a whole bunch of different kinds of things going on in the world. So a transferable skill, like let's say you're really good at problem solving, that can be very useful in healthcare, but it could also be very useful in tech. It could also be very useful in travel, in real estate, in finance. So it's important to understand that you're not really limited to one industry per se, just your transferable skills might apply in a lot of different ones. And then to think about like what industry might make you happy. And aside from thinking about industries, you can think about what kinds of work. So a business that is a medical business, for example, is going to do market research and market analysis, and they're going to have somebody who does customer service, and they're going to have somebody who hires people. They're going to have all kinds of administrative positions. They're going to have research and operations supply chain management, and that just because they're a medical company and they have all that, that's going to apply to a food company too. So, for example, I went on a tour of Cliff Bar, which is right here in the Bay Area. They're in Emeryville, and they have a huge human resources department. They have a huge customer service department that focuses on all the different kinds of customers that they have, from athletes to busy moms who are putting Cliff Bars in their kids' lunches. They have a huge market research and market analysis arm. They have a research and development test kitchen where they cook up the different kinds of new Cliff Bars. A lot of administration and tech that's related to managing their everyday business. So they actually hire programmers to develop their in-house software. And they hire all kinds of people in what's called supply chain management, thinking about all the process from the farmers to the plastic to the everything that they use, and making sure that they always have enough of all the ingredients at the right time in the right place. And then, of course, there's a huge finance operation. So an accountant can work in any industry. But you might be happy in one of these areas, and then that gives you the flexibility to move from one industry to another. So the kind of thinking we've been doing with thinking about a dream job is designed to help you think about how your skills might apply in these different areas. And now we're going to turn our attention to researching different companies that might use those skills. I mentioned before that networking is a really important process. So once you had identified some companies and some jobs you might be interested in, building up your network is the next step. So who can you find out about? Who can you meet who's in these kind of jobs, and what can they tell you about it, and who else do they know? You build your network one person at a time, and you build it out from there by asking the people that you know who else they know, and then talking to those folks and making them your contacts and asking them to introduce you to more people. This really works. It's a lifetime job, building up your network and maintaining it. And that's why I've encouraged you to have a LinkedIn page, so that as you build your network, you can keep track of it over your lifetime. So the next step that we're going to be working on this week is researching companies. And I'm going to show you how to use LinkedIn, how to use Chamber of Commerce lists, how to use the news, how to use other kind of business and industry lists to find out about companies and the people who work there, so that you can make a connection with them and make them part of your network. If you are doing a job search, then your next step, you would usually try to identify 5 to 10 different companies and people at those companies that you want to talk to. And you would be calling them and emailing them and visiting them and just keeping on calling them until you got some kind of a meeting with them. This is what's called an informational interview. So in a real job search, you're not actually aiming for interviews about job positions as much as you're aiming to get a lot of informational interviews with someone who you're just going to talk to for 20 minutes, make them into a contact, learn more about their company. And then these kind of things are what leads to people calling you and saying, I remember we had a conversation, then this job came up and I thought maybe it would be good for you. That's how real contacts are made. So we think, okay, well, most jobs come from people's inside contacts. How do people get inside contacts? By getting informational interviews and developing relationships with a lot of new people. Everybody's done this, so no one's going to be surprised. I'm not going to ask you to do informational interviews in this project, but I want to point out that that's what you would be using a resume or cover letter to do, not just apply for jobs. So I think what you want to be noticing here is that a resume is just a tool in a bigger process. And the process is one that you're going to keep doing your whole life, whether you have a job or not. So the informational interview is the goal of job research. And the idea of an informational interview is that you talk to someone for about 20 minutes and you concentrate on asking them about their company and their work and trying to learn about the job and the company and the things that they do, showing your interest and showing how much you have learned about the company already from your research, and then following up with a thank you. If you were going to try to get an internship, that would include an offer to volunteer to work with them for a little while. If you were looking for a job, that would just include a thank you and a request that they keep you in mind for future positions, or that they let you meet, introduce you to some other people who might be good for you to talk to. So the informational interview is about just building your network and then waiting for that network, waiting, but not waiting patiently, waiting actively for that network to drop out the job that you're looking for. So thank you for listening. I hope this helps you to see the bigger process. And now you'll want to focus on the research process and the specific steps in the email that I sent you.